All right, so get this. The Nigerian army is basically like running a time machine.
A time machine.
Well, not literally, of course.
Yeah.
But they have this thing called the NAHFC, the Nigerian Army Heritage and Future Center.
Okay.
And it's this really unique setup where they're like super focused on both preserving their history and then also strategizing for what's coming next in the future.
Yeah, it's a fascinating approach. They've basically created this central hub for research education and even technological development.
Wow.
All with the goal of making the army stronger and more adaptable.
So on one hand, they're digging into their past, and on the other, they're like peering into a crystal ball trying to see the future of warfare.
Yeah.
Why is understanding their history so important for them?
Well, think about it for a second.
Okay.
The Nigerian armies played a really pivotal role in the country's history,
Right.
from the Civil War back in the 60s to, more recent peacekeeping efforts across Africa. They've learned a lot along the way, both about themselves and about the complexities of, conflict.
So they don't want to repeat past mistakes.
Exactly. Like one example is their analysis of Operation Tigertail.
Okay.
It was a controversial offensive during the Civil War. The NAHFC has studied this operation in depth, not to glorify it, but to understand the, operational and ethical challenges that came up.
Oh, wow.
They're using this historical knowledge to develop new doctrines and training programs.
Interesting.
Focused on minimizing civilian casualties and adhering to international humanitarian law.
That's a pretty powerful example of how looking back can actually help shape a more responsible and effective military force right now in the present.
Absolutely.
But it's not all about dwelling on the past, is it?
No, not at all.
They're also looking ahead to the future of warfare, which I imagine is changing at an incredibly rapid pace.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The NAHFC is very aware of the evolving landscape of conflict.
Yeah.
They're studying trends in technology, geopolitics, and security to try and anticipate what challenges the Nigerian army might face in the coming decades. For instance, they're deeply concerned about the rise of cyber threats.
Cyber threats.
Which encompass everything from hacking and data breaches to disinformation campaigns
Oh, wow.
and attacks on critical infrastructure.
So it's not just about traditional battlefield tactics anymore.
Right.
They're having to prepare for threats that might come from anywhere in the digital world.
Precisely. And the NAHFC is taking a proactive approach to developing their cyber warfare capabilities.
I see.
Investing in training programs to build expertise in cybersecurity, digital forensics, and offensive cyber operations.
Okay.
They're even exploring the development of AI-powered tools to detect and neutralize cyber threats in real time.
So that's starting to sound a bit like something out of a sci-fi movie. AI battling it out in the digital realm.
Yeah, a little bit.
But it makes sense, right?
It does.
If the battleground is shifting to cyberspace, they need to be ready to fight on that front as well.
Exactly. They're also looking beyond cyberspace to other emerging threats, like the potential for climate-induced conflicts. As climate change leads to resource scarcity and mass displacement, they anticipate increased tensions and instability, potentially leading to armed conflict over waterland and other essential resources.
That's a sobering thought.
Yeah.
So they're not just preparing for conventional wars, they're thinking about the broader security implications of global issues like climate change. It sounds like the NAHFC is taking a pretty holistic view of what national security really means in the 21st century.
They're not just focused on winning battles.
Right.
They're thinking about how to prevent conflict in the first place and how to build a more stable and secure future for Nigeria.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this dual focus on heritage and the future actually makes a lot of sense. They're learning from their past to inform their present and prepare for their future.
Yeah.
But let's dive into the future side of things a bit more.
Okay.
We've touched on cyber threats, but what about other technological innovations? I know drones have become a major factor in modern warfare. Is the NAHFC exploring that area as well?
Absolutely. They're heavily invested in drone technology, not just for reconnaissance and surveillance, but also for potential offensive capabilities.
Right.
They're particularly interested in developing a new generation of stealth drones that can evade enemy radar and operate undetected in contested airspace.
Stealth drones. Okay, now that's what I'd call a game changer.
Yeah.
Are they developing these drones themselves, or are they collaborating with other countries or companies?
That's a great question, and it leads us to another key aspect of the NAHFC's strategy collaboration.
Okay.
They recognize that they can't do everything on their own.
Right.
They're actively seeking partnerships with foreign militaries, research institutions, and even private companies
Wow.
to share knowledge, acquire technology, and accelerate their own innovation efforts.
So it's not just about being secretive and protective of their own technology.
Right.
They're willing to collaborate and learn from others.
Exactly. They're particularly interested in partnering with countries that have expertise in areas like artificial intelligence, robotics, and advanced manufacturing.
I see.
For example, they've recently signed a memorandum of understanding with a leading South Korean tech firm to collaborate on the development of AI-powered drones.
That's fascinating. So the NAHFC is tapping into a global network of expertise to bolster their own capabilities.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're really embracing this idea of open innovation.
They are. They've also been working closely with the Israeli Defense Forces to develop new tactics and training programs for drone warfare. The Israelis have a lot of experience in this area, and the NAHFC is eager to learn from their successes and failures.
This collaborative approach seems incredibly smart. It allows them to stay ahead of the curve without having to reinvent the wheel every time.
Yeah.
But it also makes you wonder, if they're collaborating with other countries, how do they ensure they maintain their own strategic autonomy? Do they ever worry about becoming too reliant on foreign technology or expertise?
That's a valid concern, and it's something that NAHFC is very conscious of.
Okay.
They're careful to strike a balance between collaboration and self-reliance.
Right.
While they're open to partnerships, they're also investing heavily in building up their own indigenous research and development capabilities.
Interesting.
They're setting up their own labs, recruiting top talent, and funding research projects in key areas like AI, robotics, and material science.
So they're not just buying technology off the shelf. They're trying to become a hub of innovation themselves. That's ambitious.
It is, but it's also essential if they want to be a major player on the global stage.
Right.
They understand that true technological independence requires more than just buying weapons from other countries.
Yeah.
It requires having the knowledge, skills, and infrastructure to develop their own solutions.
That makes sense. So they're essentially playing a long game here.
Yeah.
Investing in the future of Nigerian science and technology, not just for military purposes, but potentially for broader economic and societal benefits as well.
Precisely. And that's what makes the NAHFC such a fascinating and potentially transformative initiative.
Wow.
It's not just about strengthening the military, it's about building a more secure, innovative, and prosperous future for Nigeria as a whole.
This is all incredibly insightful. I'm starting to see why the NAHFC is such a unique and important institution. It's not just a military think tank, it's a hub for strategic thinking, innovation, and national development.
Yeah.
But we've only scratched the surface here. I'm eager to delve deeper into their approach to preserving their heritage,
Okay.
as well as their efforts to engage with the public and build trust. Is that something we can explore in more detail?
Absolutely. There's a lot more to unpack here.
Great. Well, let's keep going and dive into those fascinating aspects of the NAHFC's work.
Sounds good. It's one thing to talk about the future, but the NAHFC is equally committed to understanding and preserving the past. Their approach to safeguarding military heritage goes far beyond just collecting dusty old uniforms.
So what exactly are they doing to capture and celebrate their history? Give us the inside scoop.
Okay, so imagine a vast digital archive.
Okay.
Housing everything from operational records and battle plans to personal letters and diaries of soldiers who served in past conflicts.
Wow.
They're meticulously digitizing and cataloging this treasure trove of historical documents, ensuring that these primary sources are preserved for future generations.
Yeah, it's one thing to read like a dry account of a battle in a history book.
Right.
But to actually see a soldier's handwritten diary from that conflict, that's got to be incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
It brings history to life in a way that textbooks just can't.
You're absolutely right. And they're not just like hoarding these treasures away in some secret vault.
Okay.
They're making them accessible to researchers, historians, and even the general public.
Wow.
They're developing online platforms and interactive exhibitions
Interesting.
that allow people to explore these archives, to delve into the stories behind the events, and to gain a deeper understanding of the Nigerian Army's journey.
So it's not just about preserving history, it's about making it engaging and accessible for everyone.
Right.
That's a pretty forward-thinking approach for a military institution.
It is, and they're taking it a step further
Right.
by incorporating this historical knowledge into their training and education programs.
I see.
They believe that understanding the past is crucial for developing effective leaders and making sound decisions in the present.
Can you give us an example of how they're using history to inform their current training?
Absolutely. One fascinating example is their study of the Nigerian Army's role in the ECOMOG peacekeeping mission in Liberia during the 1990s.
Okay.
This was a complex and challenging mission with many difficult lessons learned.
Yeah.
The NAHFC has meticulously analyzed this operation, interviewing veterans, studying after-action reports, and even conducting wargaming simulations to identify what worked, what didn't, and how they can improve their approach to peacekeeping in the future.
That's a great example of how they're not just looking back for nostalgia's sake. They're actively using their history to become a more effective and responsible military force. It's almost like they're saying, we've been there, we've done that, and we're determined to learn from our experiences, both the good and the bad.
Precisely, and that brings us back to the future side of the NAHFC.
Okay.
We've talked about their focus on emerging technologies like drones and AI,
Right.
but it's important to note that they're not just blindly chasing after the latest gadgets.
Yeah.
They're taking a very strategic and thoughtful approach to innovation,
Okay.
always asking the question, how can we use technology to enhance our capabilities and fulfill our mission in the most effective and ethical way possible?
So it's not just about acquiring the most advanced weaponry. It's about figuring out how to use technology responsibly and effectively in a complex and rapidly changing world.
Exactly. And one area where they're really pushing the boundaries is in the field of robotics.
Robotics.
They're exploring the use of robots for a wide range of tasks, from dangerous missions like bomb disposal and mine clearing to logistical support and even medical assistance.
Robots on the battlefield. That sounds straight out of science fiction.
Yeah, it kind of does.
But I can see how it could potentially save lives and reduce risks for human soldiers.
Absolutely.
What are some of the specific types of robots they're developing?
Well, one example is a remotely operated vehicle, or ROV,
Okay.
designed for reconnaissance and surveillance in hazardous environments. This ROV is equipped with advanced sensors, cameras, and even a manipulator arm that can be used to disarm explosives or collect samples.
Wow.
They're also experimenting with autonomous ground vehicles, or AGVs,
Okay.
that can transport supplies, evacuate casualties, and even provide fire support.
Wow. These AGVs sound like they could be real game changers, especially in situations where it's too dangerous to send in human troops.
Yeah.
Are they already deploying these robots in real-world operations?
Not quite yet. They're still in the testing and development phase.
Okay.
But the NAHFC is confident that these robotic systems will play a significant role in future operations. They're also exploring the ethical implications of using robots in warfare,
Okay.
working to develop guidelines and protocols to ensure that these systems are used responsibly and in accordance with international law.
That's good to hear. It's reassuring that they're not just focused on the technological capabilities and also on the ethical considerations.
Yeah.
It seems like they're really trying to stay ahead of the curve, both in terms of innovation and in terms of responsible use of technology.
They are, and that forward-thinking approach extends to their efforts to train and educate their personnel.
Okay.
They recognize that the soldiers of the future will need a very different set of skills than the soldiers of the past.
So what kind of skills are we talking about here?
Well, in addition to traditional military skills like marksmanship and tactics,
Right.
future soldiers will need to be proficient in areas like cybersecurity, data analysis, and even artificial intelligence.
Wow.
They'll need to be able to operate complex technological systems, analyze vast amounts of data, and make decisions in rapidly evolving situations.
So they're essentially trying to create a new breed of soldier.
Yeah.
Tech-savvy, adaptable, and able to operate in a highly complex and interconnected world.
Exactly. And to achieve that, the NAHFC is investing heavily in education and training programs that go far beyond traditional military academies.
Wow.
They're partnering with universities, tech companies, and even foreign military institutions
Okay.
to develop specialized courses and degree programs in fields like cyber warfare, robotics, and artificial intelligence.
That's fascinating. It sounds like they're really blurring the lines between the military and the civilian world,
Yeah.
recognizing that the skills and knowledge needed for national security in the 21st century are no longer confined to the traditional battlefield.
Take up. They're creating a pipeline of talent that can move seamlessly between the military and civilian sectors,
Wow.
bringing with them the expertise and experience needed to address the challenges of a rapidly changing world.
This is all incredibly impressive, but it also raises an interesting question.
Okay.
How are they funding all of this? Developing cutting-edge technologies, building new training facilities, partnering with international institutions. All of this must require significant resources.
It does. And that's where their commitment to transparency and public engagement comes in.
Okay, now we're getting to the part I've been particularly curious about.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about the heritage and future aspects of an NAHC.
Right.
But what about the public aspect? How are they engaging with the Nigerian people and building trust with the civilian population?
Well, for starters, they're being much more open about their operations and activities than ever before.
Okay.
They're inviting journalists and members of the public to visit their facilities, observe training exercises, and learn more about what they do.
That's a big step. Traditionally, militaries have been very secretive organizations, operating largely behind closed doors.
Yeah.
What prompted this shift toward greater transparency?
They recognize that public trust is essential, especially in a country with a history of military coups and interventions in politics.
Right.
By being more open and accountable, they're hoping to demonstrate that the Nigerian army of today is a professional and responsible force that is committed to serving the interests of the people.
So it's not just about showcasing their cool tech and their impressive training programs.
No.
It's about building bridges with the community and showing that they're not some shadowy, unaccountable force.
Exactly. And they're going beyond just opening their doors to visitors.
Yeah.
They're actively engaging with communities through outreach programs, educational initiatives, and public events.
I see.
They're holding lectures, workshops, and exhibitions that showcase the history and role of the Nigerian army in a positive light.
Can you give us a specific example of one of these public engagement initiatives?
Absolutely. One initiative that's been particularly successful is their Cybersecurity for Youth program, which aims to educate young people about the importance of cybersecurity and to inspire them to pursue careers in this growing field.
Interesting.
They're holding workshops and coding camps in schools across the country, teaching students about online safety, ethical hacking, and the fundamentals of computer science.
That's a really smart move. Not only are they educating young people about an important issue, but they're also potentially cultivating the next generation of cybersecurity professionals. It's a win-win.
Exactly. And they're not just focusing on youth. They're also reaching out to community leaders, religious organizations, and even traditional rulers to build relationships and foster dialogue.
Interesting.
They're holding town hall meetings, participating in cultural events, and even working with local NGOs on development projects.
So they're really trying to integrate themselves into the fabric of Nigerian society, not just operate as a separate entity.
Precisely. They're working hard to show the public that they're not just a fighting force. They're also a force for good in society. They're involved in disaster relief efforts, community development projects, and even environmental protection initiatives.
It's fascinating to see how they're using their resources and expertise to make a positive impact beyond the traditional role of the military. It sounds like they're really trying to redefine what it means to be a modern army in the 21st century.
They are, and it's an approach that's gaining attention around the world.
Oh, wow.
Other militaries are starting to take notice of the NAHFC's model.
Interesting.
Recognizing the importance of balancing strength with compassion, innovation, with tradition, and operational effectiveness with public accountability.
It's inspiring to see a military institution taking such a holistic and progressive approach. It makes you wonder if this model could be applied to other organizations as well, even outside the military. Could businesses, government agencies, or even nonprofit organizations benefit from a similar approach?
That's a great question, and one that the NAHFC is actually exploring themselves.
Oh, wow.
They're starting to share their experiences and best practices with other organizations, both domestically and internationally. They're holding conferences, publishing articles, and even offering consulting services to help others learn from their model.
Wow, so they're not just trying to improve themselves. They're trying to elevate the entire field of organizational development. That's pretty ambitious.
It is, but they believe that their approach has the potential to transform the way organizations think about their past, present, and future. They're convinced that by embracing their heritage, investing in innovation, and engaging with their stakeholders, organizations can become more resilient, more effective, and more aligned with the needs of the communities they serve.
This is all incredibly insightful. I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on the role of the military in society.
Yeah, it's great to be able to share this.
Before we wrap up, I have one final question that's been on my mind throughout this discussion. We've talked about the NAHFC's efforts to prepare for the future of warfare. But what does that future actually look like? What are some of the key trends and challenges that they're anticipating in the coming decades?
That's a big question. and one that the NAHFC is constantly grappling with.
Yeah.
They're looking at a wide range of factors, from technological advancements to geopolitical shifts to social and demographic trends.
Right.
But here are a few key insights they've gleaned from their research and analysis.
Okay, let's hear it. What does the crystal ball reveal about the future of warfare?
First, they anticipate that warfare will become increasingly complex and multidimensional.
Okay.
Traditional battle lines will continue to blur with conflicts, often involving a mix of state and non-state actors,
Right.
operating across multiple domains: land, sea, air, cyberspace, and even outer space.
So we're not just talking about conventional armies clashing on a battlefield anymore.
Right.
It's going to be much more fluid and unpredictable.
Exactly. And the NAHFC believes that this will require a shift in thinking about how militaries are organized, trained, and equipped. They'll need to be more agile, adaptable, and capable of operating in complex and uncertain environments.
That makes sense. So agility and adaptability will be key. What else are they predicting?
Second, they anticipate that technology will continue to play a transformative role in warfare,
Okay.
driving rapid innovation in areas like artificial intelligence, robotics, autonomous systems, and directed energy weapons.
Oh, wow.
This will create both opportunities and challenges for militaries around the world.
Opportunities in the sense that new technologies could provide a strategic advantage, but challenges in the sense that keeping up with the pace of innovation will be incredibly difficult and expensive.
Precisely. And it's not just about acquiring the latest gadgets.
Right.
It's about understanding how to integrate these technologies effectively into existing military doctrines and operational concepts.
So it's not just about the tech itself. It's about the human element, the ability to adapt and innovate in the face of rapid technological change.
Exactly. And that brings us to the third key trend: the growing importance of human capital.
Human capital.
As warfare becomes more complex and technology-driven,
Right.
the NAHFC believes that the quality of personnel will be more important than ever before. They'll need soldiers who are not only physically fit and tactically proficient,
Yeah.
but also intellectually agile, technologically literate, and capable of critical thinking and problem solving.
So we're talking about a new breed of soldier.
Yeah.
One who's as comfortable with a computer keyboard as they are with a rifle.
Exactly. And the NAHFC is already taking steps to develop this next generation of warriors.
Interesting.
They're investing in STEM education, promoting lifelong learning, and fostering a culture of innovation and experimentation within the ranks.
This is all incredibly fascinating. It sounds like the future of warfare will be radically different from anything we've seen before.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
And it's clear that the NAHFC is at the forefront of thinking about these challenges and preparing the Nigerian army for what lies ahead.
They are, and their approach is one that other militaries around the world would be wise to study and learn from.
I couldn't agree more. Well, this has been an incredibly enlightening deep dive into the Nigerian Army's Heritage and Future Center. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
It's been my pleasure.
It's mind-boggling to think about how much warfare is evolving, and I have to say the NAHFC's approach to anticipating these changes is really impressive.
Yeah.
They're not just reacting to events, they're trying to shape the future. But here's something I've been wondering about.
Okay.
This whole idea of blending heritage and future-focused thinking. Could this model work for other organizations, even outside the military?
That's a fascinating question. It's not often that you see an organization so deliberately connecting its past, present, and future.
Right.
It does seem like a powerful approach, not just for strategy, but also for creating a strong sense of purpose and identity.
Yeah, think about it.
Yeah.
Companies, government agencies, even nonprofit organizations, they all have histories, right?
They do.
Learning from their past successes and failures could be incredibly valuable for guiding their future decisions.
Absolutely. Imagine a tech startup that's struggling to innovate.
Okay.
Instead of just chasing the latest trends, they could take a step back and look at their own history.
Yeah.
What were their early successes? What made their product unique? By rediscovering their roots, they might find inspiration for a new wave of innovation.
That's a great example. It's like you're saying, we've lost our way a bit. Let's go back to what made us great in the first place.
Exactly. And it's not just about rediscovering past successes.
Right.
It's also about learning from failures. What went wrong? Why did a particular product flop? Understanding past mistakes can help organizations avoid repeating them in the future.
Yeah, it's almost like having a roadmap that's been tested and refined over time.
Yeah.
You can see the paths that led to dead ends and the ones that led to success.
Precisely. And it's not just about strategy, it's also about culture.
Okay.
By celebrating their heritage.
Right.
The Nigerian army is fostering a sense of pride, camaraderie, and shared purpose among its members.
Yeah.
That kind of strong internal culture can be a huge asset, especially in challenging times.
It's like they're saying, we're all part of something bigger than ourselves, something with a rich history and a bright future. That's a powerful message that can unite and motivate people.
It is, and it's a message that can resonate far beyond the military.
Right.
Any organization that can tap into that kind of shared identity and purpose will have a significant advantage.
So do you think this model of blending heritage and future-focused thinking could be a game changer for other organizations?
I think it has the potential to be transformative.
Why?
Of course, it would need to be adapted to fit the specific context of each organization.
Right.
But the fundamental principles, understanding your history, learning from your experiences, and using that knowledge to shape your future, those are universally applicable.
It's certainly given me a lot to think about.
True.
It makes you realize that the past isn't just something to be studied or preserved.
Yeah.
It's a living, breathing thing that can shape our present and our future.
Well said. And the Nigerian army is showing the world how to do that effectively.
This has been an incredible deep dive thanks to your expertise. I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on the power of understanding the past to shape a better future.
It's been my pleasure. It's always fascinating to explore these kinds of innovative ideas and consider their wider implications.
For our listeners out there, I have a final, thought-provoking question for you to ponder. Could this model of blending heritage and future-focused thinking be valuable for your own organization or even for your personal life? It's definitely something worth considering. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Nigerian Army's remarkable heritage and future center. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.